Often fighting a stalling opponent can be even more difficult than finding a highly skilled opponent because they won't allow you to create any offense. Usually they do this by going to both knees or one knee up and keeping their elbows super tight. And if they're a really big opponent, it's very difficult to attack. Double sleeve position is one of the most common guards in Jiu-Jitsu. You can easily get to it from closed guard because pretty much any time your opponent tries to open your closed guard, either from the knees or standing up, you can always have access to two sleeves and get to the guard position.
Okay, so our first attack here is going to be the double sleeve triangle. I'm going to set this up by using my spider hook here to drive John to the right side here. Once his elbow hits the mat, it's a clear indicator for me to unlasso, place my foot right on his hip here, okay? From here, I'm going to lift my hips up and break his sleeve grip here and throw the triangle. If you go against heavier opponents, it's pretty safe to keep this sleeve until you fully lock the triangle to prevent the stack pass.
An additional point here that I just learned watching Sebastian do this that's really powerful is often when you shoot a triangle versus a big opponent, they fast dump you to this side, and it can be really scary going for a triangle on a big guy. But the emphasis of pushing this really prevents that, right? So if I go here like this and I hit the triangle, when I'm pushing here, he can't create that shoulder force this way to kind of dump me over and pass. So this little detail, pushing this out, I just really wanted to extra emphasize on that.
Okay, so often when I go for my triangle here, my opponent can start posturing very high, so there's no triangle here anymore. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring my foot right back to his bicep, angle my hips, and I make sure I get on my elbow here to complete the spider chop sweep.
Another situation you can go for the spider chop sweep or wheel sweep is if I'm out here and I want to go for that first triangle, but he's keeping that elbow really tight so I can't get the foot on the hip. This often brings his base down a little bit to the side. And when I alternate side, I'll swing my leg and I bend my leg to shift onto the other hip here, right? So what happens is he pulls that elbow really, really tight. And now as I shift, I can get a really nice chop over there for the sweep. So what I'm looking to do there when I hit that is just to block his knee and shin from opening wide to catch his base, and I can go here. Now, combined with that, sometimes if he's really tight, then when I go here, he'll open a little to catch his base, and I can go back for the triangle with either locking the leg over the back and kicking up, or doing as Sebastian did with the foot on the hip. Both the wheel sweep to the triangle and the triangle to the wheel sweep together, they just work back and forth great. So this next technique that Sebastian's gonna show, I had never seen before. But in my opinion, it's one of the most powerful sweeps versus strong stalling opponent on both knees. He's been here the last 2 weeks and he's like 64 kilos or 145 pounds. And he's been sweeping all of the big guys in our gym 200 pounds plus with it like nonstop.
Okay, so this next technique is gonna be an entry to single leg X from double sleeve when my opponent's on both knees. So first I'm gonna start by going for the spider chop sweep, okay? My partner's gonna defend this by opening up his knees, maybe even keeping his elbow tight so I can't even throw a triangle or finish the sweep. So from here, I'm gonna use this space here, bring my foot here. And then from here, I'm gonna use my spider hook to drive my partner to the right side here. When he falls, I'm gonna use my left leg to catch the single leg X, okay? From here, I'm gonna underhook his leg, break the pant grip, bring the foot right in the inside, and do a technical stand-up.
So a couple quick extra thoughts here. First off, I'm often when I'm doing this, I have a shallow lasso and I'm unlassoing to do this. And you may have noticed Sebastian's doing a deep lasso. Both have use and we can go into that in a separate video. But in this case, when you pull the leg out, it's gonna function basically the same. So you can do this with a deep lasso or shallow once you pull it out. So when we go here and we go for the wheel sweep and he kind of opens the base and defends, we come in here, we go through, we catch the leg. And now when we dump him back this way, we want to get that knee underneath to make sure that we can trap this leg in. If I start to do this and he happens to step that leg way back to get out of the position like this, he's often going to re-expose a triangle. So they're always juggling the defense of the triangle threat and not letting you get underneath them. So in this case, we get underneath and we go heel on the hip. Now we could go way more in depth on the options once you're here of pushing them out, coming up, because I can also turn this into crab ride threats. I could turn it into, if he turns his knee this way, I could turn it back into ankle lock threats. And we actually did a video before, I'll put the video in the description, where Sebastian goes into a really powerful back taking system. He uses from here to go underneath the guy. But the purpose of this video is to more understand it from the spider guard position itself. But as you go more in depth in that underneath position, there's so many different sweeps and ways to take your opponent's back or submit them from there as well.